Right off the top, I'm sick again. So let's just get that out of the way. Okay. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Frank Davalos. Today we're going to be talking about a camera that I never knew that I needed. And that's the Ricoh GR3. The Ricoh GR3 is a 24 megapixel APS-C point and shoot camera. This camera was released in March 2019, so it's coming up on 4 years ago. When I first got the GR3, I didn't like it. There's some downsides to it. It's built kind of shitty and there's no viewfinder. You know, I just didn't really get the hype, but then I found myself randomly falling in love with this camera. To give you a little bit of context into my life and what I shoot. So I started my entire photography career as a portrait and wedding photographer many moons ago, almost 10 years ago. And that's primarily what I shot, and obviously a little bit of travel as was kind of moving around the world, whatever. And up until maybe 3 years ago, kind of like alongside when I had my first kid, my photography kind of changed. My photos were kind of transforming into like more photojournalistic photos, and I was trying to really capture moments and my environment. I wasn't working a lot in photography because, you know, it was COVID, and I was a new dad, etc., etc. And I've really sort of developed this new kind of style of photography. And I've been kind of like on the hunt, as you could probably tell from the other videos on this channel, for like my everyday camera. I don't know if there is an everyday carry for me. I think that there are different tools for the job. I just want to kind of share why I think the Ricoh GR3 is like an amazing tool for a lot of jobs. And so ultimately, last summer, I sold my X100V. Basically what happened was I was browsing Amazon and I came across the Ricoh GR3. Obviously I knew about that camera. I've always been intrigued by that camera. And then, you know, 2 weeks later I saw that there was a deal where you could spend 94 bucks a month for 12 months, no interest, to buy this camera. And I'm like, you know, I spend that in beer in like a week. So I can sacrifice some beers to test out this camera and try it out. And that was kind of all that I was planning on doing. I was planning on testing the camera out and then probably selling it. At first, with the Ricoh GR3, I didn't connect with that camera in the same way that I've connected with other cameras in the past. You know, with the Fuji cameras, for example, it was instantaneous, the connection. And then I started shooting with it more, and one thing that like you realize pretty quickly, you can literally bring it anywhere. And it doesn't matter the occasion. You're going to the mall, bring the Ricoh GR3. You're going clubbing, bring the Ricoh GR3. You're going out with the fellas to watch some sports, bring the Ricoh GR3. You're going out on the streets, probably the best place you could ever bring the Ricoh GR3. I quickly found myself like bringing this camera everywhere, and it wasn't annoying. Well, I know that the Fuji X100V is very easy to carry around, and it is very small, and it's much more portable than a lot of cameras. It's nothing like the Ricoh GR3. I know that that's like one of the things that everyone says on YouTube, but I feel like they don't place enough attention on how small it is and how often you'll be shooting it just based on that. The image quality is like mind-blowingly good that a camera that small can produce such a beautiful image. Here I am, 6 months later, I still have the Ricoh GR3, and I think it's probably the camera right now at this moment. Maybe my M6 gets used a little bit more, but no, that's not true. It's the Ricoh GR3. It's just so easy to bring with me everywhere. It's never inconvenient, and it's such a deadly little weapon. I just fell in love. Me and the wifey got married in Las Vegas. I took that camera on the streets with me, and it was the best. There's no better street camera than the GR3. None of the Fujis, none of it. It's the GR3. The colors of the GR3 are so nice. I think they're better than Fuji. That's my personal preference. I know there'll be a lot of people that disagree with that. But for me, I really think that they're better. I like the black and whites that come out of camera a lot. I like the positive film simulation that it has a lot. That's the one I probably use the most if I'm shooting JPEG. I'm always impressed with how it renders things like skin tones and greens and like fall colors. Like every time I see the pictures, I'm actually amazed. I'm like, how does those beautiful pictures come from this little tiny camera, this little device? When I took it to Las Vegas, I just had it in my pocket. It was so easy to capture street photos, and nobody said anything because it's this tiny little camera. It's completely silent on the streets. Nobody can hear it, and you can really capture some cool stuff. If you're a street shooter and you don't have the GR3, I don't know what you're doing. It just has so many things going for it for street photography that I just can't imagine if I was an everyday street photographer, why I wouldn't have that camera. And then if you're just like a dad photographer like I am right now, it's just the best. You know, you can just have it laying around. You know, if you're sick at home with your kids, you can snap pictures and have those memories for later. It doesn't eat up too much of your hard drive space, but it captures beautiful images and images that I think look really true to life, which is something that the Fuji cameras I don't think do a great job at. I know lots will disagree, but I don't think Fuji cameras capture true to life images in the same way that the Ricoh does, or some of my Leica cameras. Again, that's just personal taste, and I'm probably the wrong one, so don't listen to me on that. The other reason why I think the Ricoh GR3 is so great is because of its price point. I think that almost anyone can afford the GR3. Photography people, people that aren't photography people. I think it's just such like a really cool in-between camera that can bridge the gap between people who love photography and people who just love photos, you know? It's just something you can take wherever you go, and it's a really special little camera that's, you know, non-assuming but yet super powerful and amazing. And you'll see people trying to compare their smartphones to little cameras like the GR3 or any Fuji camera or whatever. People saying that the image quality of the iPhone 14 Pro, for example, is in the same ballpark. It's not. Stop listening to them. There might be situations where it is, but as a whole, it isn't. The GR3 is way better in low light, less so than the X100V, I will say, but still extremely good. And then you also get the in-body image stabilization, which really helps. Maybe it is close to as good as the X100V when you consider that you can slow down your shutter speed quite a bit. There are some things that suck about it. Autofocusing in low light, it's not good. It's very hard. It hunts. It's just not great. So that can be a challenge if you're like constantly in low light. In like fast moving situations, but like I'm not really. That might happen sometimes, but not really that much. The way that I go about mitigating that is if I am shooting in fast situations, what I'll do is I'll just use snap focus. I find myself using snap focus in all kinds of situations. Maybe that's partly because of the shortcomings of the GR3, like the sort of sluggish autofocus in low light and things like that. Nonetheless, I think it's one of my favorite features about the camera is to be able to set the distance that you're focusing at. I have it set so that if I just hammer down my shutter button, it's just going to automatically snap focus to the distance that I set. And so that's super cool. I think that's like the most amazing feature. So I can go on, use my camera like normal if I'm on the street or something. And then if I have, you know, if something's moving fast and I just need to get the shot, I can just hammer it down and it'll automatically take the picture at the distance that I have it set to focus at. So that's like, it's one of the best features about the GR3, and I can't believe other cameras haven't copied it. I'm going to assume that they will in the future. It's just such a useful feature. And probably my favorite thing. The last kind of downside about the camera is that I really kind of hate just having an LCD camera. I understand why they did it. Like, I don't think it needs a viewfinder. They kept it super small for a reason. If I ever need like an optical viewfinder, I sometimes just throw on my Leica viewfinder, which is, I don't know if you can do that, but I kind of tested out the framing of it and it seems to work just fine. I think I'd love the LCD screen more if it was better. The way that I kind of get around that is sometimes I'll transfer the photos to my phone. I really do hope that in the future, maybe the GR4 will kind of come out with a better LCD screen so that like it looks better. But at the end of the day, I know that it's a 4-year-old camera. The tech might be a little bit old, but the optics of the camera are amazing. And I would just encourage you to keep shooting because you'll be surprised once you pull it up on your computer how amazing it actually is and what you can all do with the DNG files at the end of the day. So, and then the last thing I will say is the battery life sucks, but I just bought a bunch of batteries and I just keep them on me. You can like fit 3 of the batteries in the same space as you can fit one Sony battery. So it really is like I'll just bring a bunch of batteries and deal with the shitty battery life if it means I can take this camera wherever I go. There are downsides to every single camera, and you just need to assess for you whether or not the downsides are like so shitty that it's gonna make you not want this camera. But I really think like I'm really struggling with this YouTube channel because I don't want to just have a YouTube channel that encourages people to buy gear. I just feel gross lately, and that's probably why I haven't made any videos in 3 months, is because I just don't know if that's necessarily what I want to accomplish with this channel. But with the Ricoh GR3, it's like a different type of recommendation. I really think that people should try this camera out. I just feel like it's this camera that kind of can fit into anyone's life, and that's what's super special about the camera. It is less than half the price of what you would buy a used X100V for right now in January of 2023. I could never recommend an X100V at this point in life. I'm not just here to make videos and tell you guys how much I love a camera just to get paid. I have no affiliation with Ricoh. I have no affiliation with any of the brands that I talk about on this channel. Basically, I don't want to make a super long video here. I know that there are a ton of videos on this camera. It's been out for almost 4 years, so clearly you can go hunting for those videos of people who love it. I'm a person that didn't love it at first, and I've been extremely surprised at how awesome it is. That's pretty much it. Honestly, I know I kind of dragged on a lot more than I thought I would, but I didn't write a script. I don't know. I'm rambling. I haven't made a video in forever, and I just wanted to come on here and just talk about the camera that I've been using for the last 6 months. If you've been thinking about it, if you're down the GR3 rabbit hole, I'm here to say fucking do it. Thank you guys again for supporting the channel. If you got anything out of this, feel free to consider subscribing. I've now made $18 on YouTube without doing anything, so that's neat. I will see you guys in the next video, and feel free to leave a comment down below or a question, and I'll be happy to answer it. Okay, thanks, and see you in the next one.